Tuesday, 12/17/2019, and it is Tackle Trading's halftime report. We got 8 days till Christmas, and I'm still trying to do my gift planning and gift giving kind of list, Matt. Having a hard time figuring out what to still buy for my wife. We talked about that on the podcast yesterday as well. First off, how you doing this morning, brother?
I'm doing good, Tim. Kind of a slow news day. Apparently, there's a lot of economic reports in the headlines.
Heavy economic day. Yeah, I mean, I was shocked by that. It's funny how these news outlets, they have to make stuff up. If it's a boring day in the market, it's a boring day in the market. It's okay. You don't have to make industrial production to be like the Federal Reserve meeting. I mean, it's not.
It was just funny because there's not a lot of news here today. I mean, we'll cover what there is, and obviously we'll run through the technicals and talk about the market and, look at that. But, I was going through my process this morning and, I saw some headlines and it said, it's going to be a big economic day because there's nothing else out there. And I'm like, for a second, Tim, because in my weekly routine, I always go through the economic data, right? And not just U.S. economic data. I go through, international economic data as well. And it was just, I had a moment. I was like, wait a second, did I miss something? So I went to Forex. I went to Forex Factory and I was like, okay, pull up Forex Factory. And I'm like, yeah, like building permits. That's it.
Yeah.
Big economic day.
Well, you have to actually add the yellow one to get the housing starts, I believe.
Yeah. Okay. So if I go to the yellow one, okay. Oh yeah. We got a whole bunch of economic data that literally nobody cares about. Like literally nobody cares about.
I don't know. I mean, what is Rosengren going to talk about here at 11:30? Maybe I need to tune into that.
Rosengren's an idiot. I don't need to hear him.
Well, there is some interesting corporate news, and there's also some international political news still out of the UK. Boris Johnson, I just want to get your take on it. I read the headline. I'm like, I don't really know if I need to care about that or not, but he is positioning.
If it's about Brexit, I don't care.
I don't care, man. I'm so tired of it. But he did say that they are going to move some new law. They're going to try to get through Parliament now that they have this big, consensus in Parliament. They're going to try to get it through Parliament and basically to where you got to get a deal done in 2020 or we're done, Matt. Do you like shot clocks on trade deals? You think that's a good idea?
Sometimes putting a deadline on something certainly can help speed up the process and get people to pick up the pieces and, come off their negotiating, techniques and whatnot. So, I understand what Johnson's doing, just trying to speed this process up. I mean, Tim, we are 3.5 years removed from the beginning of Brexit, and it's obviously with the election and Johnson winning a resounding victory out of there. I mean, he has the right to, now that he has control of Parliament, he has the right to put a deadline out on there. And, quite frankly, I don't blame him. If I was Johnson, I might put a deadline on this stupid thing too, because it's got, I mean, in the US, we're sick of it. I mean, I couldn't imagine being in the UK and being like, and having this every single day, are we not? Are we going to have a referendum? Are we not? Are we leave? Are we not? All these, it's just so difficult to follow and track. And so, yeah, I mean, at some point, don't you have to have a moment where you're like, we're going to either do a deal or not? You can't have this go on in perpetuity.
I'm thinking about becoming a UK citizen and voting for Boris Johnson because I like him so much. I love the idea of getting Brexit done. I don't care what you have to do, get it done and move on with this damn thing. It's been 3.5 years, Matt. They're talking about another year to where they can't negotiate the details of a trade deal with their trading partners in Europe. I don't believe that.
Been negotiating for 3.5 years.
That's right.
It's not like there's unknown situations here that have to be negotiated out. We know what the details are. We know the one thing that's been holding this back is the border dispute in Northern Ireland with the EU. So are we going to do it or are we not? I like the fact that Johnson's putting a deadline on it. I like the fact that he's putting a little heat to make it hot. I like that. I like that. So we'll see how it plays out. But obviously the pound's gonna struggle here because the one thing, the reason the pound has been rising over the last, 2 months is the belief that there will be a deal. And, there most likely will be, Tim, I would say. Just because Johnson's going to try to put a deadline on it doesn't mean he doesn't want to do a deal. I'm certain he wants to have a negotiated Brexit, and maybe it forces the EU partners to come to the table and be like, listen, we're not dealing with Theresa May anymore. We're now dealing with Boris Johnson, who has a strong numbers in the parliament, who has the majority of the parliament with the Conservative Party. Maybe that forces the EU to come off some of their negotiating tactics as well.
Yeah, and obviously volatility around the pound with Brexit has been there for 3.5 years. If you're going to play the game in Forex and play the pound dollar crosspair, you know that news like this can happen, Matt. You've got to plan that in.
I couldn't imagine trading the pound dollar cross or the pound euro cross right now. I couldn't imagine trading the pound in general.
I would just kind of stay away from it. I have stayed away from it, and a lot of my Forex trading over the last couple of years has really gone down in quantity, Matt. I used to trade a lot more Forex. I know that you and I were talking about this, and it's not that I don't trade it. I still trade every now and then, but I've just been avoiding some of the complexity in the Forex markets.
I'll trade it when I see something set up, right? But I'm not going to, but I don't feel the need to show up on a daily basis and trade Forex. It's just, it's a very difficult trading vehicle. And, especially in the market, in the stock market, where it's been a very, very bullish year in the market. I mean, I've said this before, and I'll say it again, the benefit of being a trader and knowing these different markets, you can go to a market that's a little easier. And the stock and options market has simply been easier today and this year than the Forex market has. The Forex market has been extremely difficult. When you go through these types of cycles where every central bank is going dovish, and they're fighting for the low price, right? They're fighting to decrease their currency to help increase their exports. It's going to be a very difficult environment to trade in.
I actually like trading days like this in some ways, Matt. It makes it really easy to just kind of go through your routine. You don't have to overthink stuff. The S&P 500, let's go back to the stock market for a minute. You see a little doji up here at the top in the continuation of the trend, and really not a very heavy economic day. You just kind of, you run your account, you move on, don't you? I mean, doji here today.
Yeah, you don't force the action. I mean, there's still a lot of good setups out there. You go through your process, you go through your routine, you check the news, you check the economic calendar, you manage your portfolio, you check your delta, you check your theta numbers, you look at the individual stocks and determine if you need to lock in profit, scale in, scale out, trail up stop losses, and then you work your watch list. And if there's nothing there, then you move on to tomorrow.
Yeah,
you don't have to stare at the price action.
I'm with you. 2 days in a row, we're going to look at the home builders, Matt. Give me XHB real quick. It did have some data in that industry again now for the second day, saying they're very strong. I'm a bull in some ways on this industry, but I'm looking for fundamental strength out of certain companies as well. Toll Brothers, those types, that are good dividend payers. Matt, housing starts were strong and building permits did come out and beat their expectations. On the back of that data yesterday, it looks like home builders are set up for a good, maybe potential breakout here at some point, don't you think?
Yeah, they've been most of the home builders, Toll Brothers, outside of D.H. Horton, right? But KB Homes, Toll Brothers, a lot of those home builders have been trading neutral, and that's what you're seeing in XHB, which is the ETF that tracks all the home builders. Yesterday we had a report where the home builders had the greatest confidence that they've had in the last 20 years. Today we see economic data, on a very, very strong and important economic day, where you only have two economic reports that only impact one industry out of the 110 industries in the market. A little sarcasm there, but it was good economic data. There's no doubt. I mean, building permits came in slightly above the expectation. Housing starts came in slightly above the expectation as well. And you certainly don't want to force the action here. We haven't seen the volume pick up in XHB. We've seen actually decreasing volume. So let's wait till we see the breakout. But this is certainly something the home builders in general, Toll Brothers, D.H. Horton, and KB Homes, but at XHB, we should be watching this on a daily basis so that, when we do see that breakout, we're ready to pounce on it.
I think there is some opportunity there. Definitely one that I like. And there's a bunch of individual corporate news we'll get to in just a minute, Matt. Let's quickly run through the commodity market, though, actually. I think it's going to be pretty quick analysis. Then we can talk Netflix and Boeing and all the other companies that are on my radar. And FedEx tonight as well has their earnings. The dollar bear retracing, I mean, Matt, that's not a good technical setup if you're a bull. But if you want to short the dollar, you actually got some developing chart pattern here that actually is pretty interesting.
You do. And, President Trump sent out a tweet today basically stating the time is now to further decrease interest rates and further do quantitative easing. And finally, somebody admits that it's actually quantitative easing. Thank you, President. But the president says, now we need to take it further. The dollar's too strong. And I'm thinking, the dollar's been getting its teeth kicked in for 3 straight months, and it's at the low price for the last 5 months. And we just launched 500 billion in repo actions and 60 billion in T-bills purchasing every single month. Oh, and by the way, Tim, what took us 2 years to reduce the balance sheet to $3.5 trillion, we have now evaporated that by increasing it to the same levels as the highs of 16. So I'm just like, what do you want? And if I'm Jay Powell and if I'm the Fed and I'm thinking, I just gave you over 500 billion in liquidity to the New York banks. I just lowered the interest rate 3 consecutive times. I just went dovish beyond dovish. When's it good enough? How much debt, how much risk to inflation? And even Alan Greenspan came out today, Tim, and said, listen, how much we're expanding that balance sheet and how much we're running deficits of over $1 trillion every single year. That is absolutely going to have an impact on inflation in the future. We continue to run up these deficits. We continue to print more money. We continue to increase the liquidity, and it's never going to be good enough. The Fed has to stay strong here, and they're just simply not. The dollar right now is showing the weakness because of the liquidity we've increased, and it doesn't seem like that's going to stop. You're looking at a bearish retracement coming into the 9 EMA, looking and a potential trigger right underneath 97. That's the level I'd be looking at on the dollar right now.
At what point are we all going to admit that it's pretty transparent that President Trump wants to manipulate the economy, not just grow the economy, so that it looks good? I mean,
you don't think we can just expand the economy by running $1 trillion deficits
no.
and repo action?
Come on, he's putting the man in manipulate.
And no, what's up, my friend? Listen, I get it. Dollar down, inflation up, makes your house go up, unemployment at 3.5%. You have an incumbent president. If the economy is strong and the stock markets are at an all-time high, Matt, the history of politics tells us he has a really strong chance of re-election, a high probability of doing so, in fact. So I'm sure he knows how important the economy is and the market and people's 401k balances.
It was James Carville in the 90s during, I believe, Clinton's, or it might have been the 92 election. I can't remember if it was 92 or 96. But James Carville, the wonderful, highly respected, and quite sarcastic and oftentimes very humorous, James Carville says, "Well, it's the economy, stupid."
Yeah, it is.
That's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And, with 3.5% unemployment, with, muted inflation, as Jay Powell stated last week, I mean, I don't care what the polls say, Tim. I literally do not care what any national poll says. He's the front runner. It's clear he's the front runner, and there's got to be something happen for that to change, and impeachment's not going to do it.
I don't think it's going to do it either. It would be the economy, and if the economy does stay strong.
On impeachment have not changed one iota in a month and a half, regardless of whatever evidence or lack thereof comes out. So, yeah. I mean, people have already made their decisions. Impeachment's going to come. It's going to go. Everybody knows it. There's never going to be a conviction. That's why even the Democrats aren't even focused on it right now. Nancy Pelosi had a meeting with her congressional constituent the other day, and they literally didn't even talk about impeachment. Everybody knows this is not going to happen.
I don't want to go off on this too long, but Larry Kudlow, where is your courage? You've been arguing for a strong dollar for 30 years, and now you're going to not argue for a strong dollar? Literally every day on his TV show, he would come out and say the dollar can be strong, the economy can be strong. That was his position for a very, very long time. And now all of a sudden we just want to crush the dollar, Matt. I don't get it. I do not get it.
Listen, we've been trying to beat Japan for 10 years, though. This isn't political. This is at the Fed level.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, and as we come closer to the end of the decade, like I've been literally every day, I've been thinking about what was the number one thing that changed in this decade. And I have everything that happened in this decade from an economic perspective, from a political perspective, from a market perspective. The one thing that really kind of sticks out in my mind is the Fed changing the way they approach monetary policy and how they've fully embraced this decreasing dollar philosophy of increasing exports. And that's the same thing that Japan and other countries around the world have done for, a couple decades, and this is just something we will have to live on into the future. But when we write the history books 50 years from now, they will point to the 2010s, and the same way they pointed to the 1930s about how Keynesian economics changed the economic landscape. The Fed monetary policy of embracing modern monetary theory of decreasing interest rates, debt-driven cycles. We're going to look back on this moment 50 years from now, and we're going to say this changed the way we looked at the economy. Whether that's good or bad, we'll have to see that play out. In my opinion, I think we'll look back at this moment and be like, we lost our damn minds. But we'll see how that plays out.
What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah,
nothing.
Yeah. Let's just inflate and GDP to nothing. I gotcha.
Well, and the thing about it is historically, it's not like this hasn't been tried, right? It's not like we haven't seen other countries, other currencies go through these types of deficit-driven, debt-driven economic cycles where they fully embrace increasing liquidity of currency and debt. Well, usually what happens is you see massive inflation and you see the death of currency. Will that happen to the dollar? Not in our lifetime, in my opinion. But could it? Yeah.
Yeah.
We run the risk.
It'll be an interesting decade to watch that play out, Matt. A lot of people are wondering, if they're single, they're like, am I going to get into a relationship in the next decade? Am I going to get married, settle down, buy a house? Your big question as an economist is, will the Fed raise interest rates past 2.5% in the 2020s? I love the way your brain is working right now. You're looking out, you're thinking, okay, where's this interest rate policy going?
Yeah, well, I loved what Mark's response yesterday when I was asking him on the podcast, and definitely go listen to that podcast. We had quite a fun time on it. But I said, Mark, are we ever going to see 2.5% in our lifetime? He says, I don't know, but he started to date and he was talking about it, and he's like, well, I'll just tell my next girlfriend that when the Fed surpasses a 2.5% interest rate, then we'll get married.
And then Max Loss return, Noah, which is a glorious return. I got to tell you,
I've never heard that.
To go listen to the podcast.
Oh, it's good.
I need Max Loss to talk to Father Guido Staccaducci. I've got to set this up.
Max Loss.
in the first live read, Mark went with Max Loss, which was fascinating. In the second one, he decided to call me and Tim boring. So.
It's pretty funny. Crude oil and gold real quick here, Matt, and then I want to get into individual corporate news. There's actually some interesting company news here today that I want to break down. FedEx, Amazon, a few other companies, Matt, but crude oil is above 60. And quite frankly, I mean, you were talking about that trigger at 60. It was a little extended. I didn't take a directional trade here, Matt, but it is working its way towards that 62, 63 target.
Well, and you're also showing price appreciation coming not only above 60. I mean, it was interesting today when you're looking at the intraday price action on crude oil here, Tim, dropping this down into a 30-minute chart, kind of fading neutrality on the overnight actions. And then right here, when the European markets opened up last night, Tim, where to come down into a little short-term retracement, and it just kissed off that 60. And once it kissed off that 60, it's almost like the algorithms are programmed to buy above 60 when it breaks above 60. And so it kissed off that 60 level, and then you just saw that price appreciation. I talked about this yesterday, how about I was a little concerned with being a strong buyer above 60, just given your fact that you're a little overextended and you're bumping into that trend line. I think what I need, and we talk about when we say what I need, this is what I'm looking for, a nice higher high above 60. Give me a higher high above 60 consolidation breakout, or give me a retracement to retest 60. I'm still not a buyer above 60. I'm waiting for that retracement above as we see the trend kind of take hold. But this could be a game changer for crude. We could start to see a nice bullish uptrend here.
Well, and quite frankly, this is a lot of the way that technicals work their way through the market, because every one of us who are watching crude oil every day, we might not have taken this signal here, but that next signal on a bull signal, Matt, if it's a clean one, you're like, okay, now with more confidence, that's how charts and how trends develop,
Well, and I don't blame anybody for like I was watching Boeing, and I'm sure we'll talk about Boeing here in a minute, Tim, but I was watching Boeing today, and Boeing gapped down on the negative news of the 737 MAX halt for the first time in decades, mind you. They maxed the Boeing 737, which is the most popular plane in the skies. It gapped down and then just started running back up. And the first thought I had in my head was, who in the world would buy this?
Yeah.
who is buying the dip on that news? I just don't understand it when the market is just so strong and almost every blue chip is running besides Boeing. So, but when I'm looking at crude, I'm like, I have no blame on anybody for buying above 60. It's not me. I think it's a little overstretched. I don't see the volume supporting the breakout here, but I wouldn't blame anybody for or criticize anybody for buying above 60. I'm just going to be a little bit more conservative here. I'm going to wait for a higher high. I'm going to wait for a retracement. And I think that next setup is going to be really good. That's
where my head's at as well. And, gold here in a neutral consolidation range. It's a quick one, Matt, because I do want to get to that Boeing news, Amazon news, and the FedEx news. Kind of a doji here in a range. Yeah.
Netflix had good news today.
Yeah. Which one?
Netflix
as well. In fact, those international subscriber numbers, I think, were pretty incredible. We'll talk about that company quite a bit. Gold, just go watch any replay on the halftime report in the last 6 weeks. You'll get the same analysis on gold. Underneath 1,500, above 1,450, Matt, we're in a range. Yes? Nothing else?
Nothing else.
Nothing else for me as well. We've talked about the dollar. Bitcoin is down pretty good here today, actually below 7,000. It's going to be interesting watching to see if this product can hold itself up at all, that Bitcoin USD chart. Last year, weren't we talking about the big euphoric run, or was it 2 years ago? And here we are just breaking down into new lows. And Matt, it's not set up in a very good chart. In fact, I think you would put that probably on like the -15, -10 yard line if you were ranking it.
Something that's down 30% in the last month and a half, and something that's breaking support on increasing volume.
Yeah,
that's a -10 yard line.
Very, very, very bearish. There's no doubt about it. Let's get into
the people's currency.
Yeah, the people's currency. Let's talk about some companies here, Matt. I want to start with FedEx. FedEx has earnings after the bell. And actually, I saw a really interesting thing out of Amazon. Obviously, this time of year, we're all, if you're a Christmas shopper and you're buying a lot of presents, you're probably doing it online like I do. And we're getting packages on the front door like pretty much every day, right? Yeah. And I don't know if you guys have noticed this. It's a lot of times different delivery trucks. Sometimes a van, sometimes this and that. Those systems, they actually contract out. It's not always Amazon people. And there was a lot of FedEx contractors who were doing that. Jeff Bezos and Amazon came out to last night and today and said, basically, we don't want to do that in the future. We want our trucks and our systems and our people delivering the packages. And they want to kind of move FedEx out of that. On the backdrop of FedEx moving into their earnings tonight, not great news for a company. It's going to be really interesting to watch how this thing plays itself out. Now,
haven't we been seeing the writing on that wall for a while now, though?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not obviously completely. I get a tremendous amount of FedEx packages from well, I shouldn't say I do. My wife gets a tremendous amount of packages from FedEx
Sure.
from Amazon, but I've started to see it more and more, right? I'm sure you have, and I'm sure you guys have all started to see it more and more. Amazon deliveries with non FedEx type things. So I think the market kind of took that in stride, right? I mean, obviously negative, but I don't think it was like a death, the last nail in the coffin of FedEx or anything like that. Let's see how the CEO handles that on the conference call tonight.
Yeah, I think, and also part of this news story I find very interesting is also the Amazon angle on it. It's a reminder to me that Jeff Bezos is positioning himself for dominance. And I know that company has been flat and in a range for a long time that is neutral,
Yep.
neutral.
Can I ask you a question?
Yep.
At what point did the richest man in human history start positioning himself for dominance?
He's going to dominate the 2020s. I think, honestly, if you give me one company for the next decade, it might be this company.
I think, yeah, there's an argument there, but there's I might take Disney, I might take Apple in front of Amazon, but obviously Bezos has created an empire here, and I don't know what happened here, but it does give me a little just curiosity about why Amazon dropped this hammer on FedEx's earnings day.
They must. That's a good question.
That's like a FU type moment.
Yeah.
Right? What happened in those negotiations to have Amazon be like, listen, we're going to wait to dump this news right before earnings on FedEx? That's killer type stuff right there.
Clearly not a good business relationship between FedEx and Amazon there. Obviously, there's discord. Moving on to some other companies. You mentioned Boeing, Matt. We've been talking about Boeing a lot. Yeah.
Real quick. I want to get your take, and I want to get Noah's take on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
Amazon has not been performing in this euphoria of what's been going on the last 2 months, right? I mean, it's really been stagnant, neutral type trends, double bottoms at 1740, maybe resistance between 1800 and 1820 here. At what point would you get interested in Amazon the same way we're interested in Microsoft and Apple and some of those high flyers right now?
Yeah. No, you first, because I have a take on this as well. I've been thinking about
think
this.
that chart pattern's just coiling up like a cobra ready to strike. It's going to move. I think it's going to pop, and I would probably be happy to take it on any breakout here. You may want to wait for the breakout, but I see it happening.
At what point would I buy long term? I don't own any Amazon. I don't own Leaps. I don't own shares. I don't own anything. I would trade it above this coily little cobra breakout. I like where Noah was trying to go there. I think that there could be something there, Noah. But ready to pop. I think you could play a trade there, Matt. For an investment, I think I would need to see strength above 2,000. It doesn't have to clear 2050. I'd have to see an uptrend developing for me, and really the fundamentals start to come into line. I think this year for Amazon has been really a head scratcher. Market has been incredible. Amazon has not, even though the company continues to perform. It's not like they're not making money, Matt. They're continuing to grow their revenue and their EPS numbers. They're putting business segments where they need to be. I think that there's no narrative about the company this year that would have been different from last year. They're still in position.
This is the first time in 10 years where, if the market's bullish, Amazon's not.
I know.
Literally is the first time since the subprime market crisis in 08, 09, 2010. So it's fascinating. I mean, if you were to 2 months ago, if you're going to tell me that the market's going to go up an additional 10%, every index is going to skyrocket, the euphoria is going to take hold, phase one trade deal is going to be signed, or not signed, but agreed upon. USMCA is going to be officially done. By the way, that they did meet on that, and they did figure out what was the problem. Just a little miscommunication was all it was with Mexico and the US. If you're going to tell me all that was going to happen, the economic data that we've seen out of Europe and Germany and specifically China and Japan and the Asian zone, that's going to be muted a little bit, and Amazon's not going to run. I'd be like, you're crazy.
Yeah. Well, and think about this. I mean, even their web service division, it's become 44% of their company. They're dominating not just on Amazon Prime and sales through their retail stuff. Their Amazon International is now 14% of the company. I think it might just be that they're chewing up some of that PE ratio, Matt, that they were overinflated for a decade on. Possibly investors were looking for better value, and they're like, okay, I'd rather own like a Disney at a 20 PE than an Amazon at 100.
I don't know. And investors haven't cared about valuation. Well, Wall Street hasn't cared about valuation in this cycle, not to the same degree that they have in previous cycles. I mean, we are talking about an average Shiller P ratio currently at 30. I mean, that's still astronomically high. Yeah. So they've been chasing yield for a long time, and, value has underperformed growth, but even Disney has performed like a growth stock this year. Apple, which I don't think we would consider Apple a growth stock any longer, that's performed. It's up 70% on the year. So I don't think it's investors shying away over yield. And I'm not saying I have the answer here. I'm just it's amazing to me that Amazon has not participated in this run up. Obviously having a pretty good day today, though, up about 1% on the news that they're going to start handling their own delivery. I'm interested above 1825. That's where I'm interested in.
It's all wound up like a cobra. I don't know where you're going with that. I do like that. Wound up like a cobra, ready to snap. Boeing, Matt, we've been talking about Boeing like each and every day for a couple of weeks now. And actually for a year, we've been talking about where they've been positioning themselves. This was incredible news. Just really quickly, they came out and said they're going to halt production. And I guess it wouldn't be shocking, but everything's kind of moving pretty quickly here with Boeing, Matt. They're going to keep their workers on the payroll. They're going to try to move them to other factories. They're still going to eat $1 billion a month on the 737 MAX production line because they're not putting planes out there. What was your reaction to this news from Boeing?
Same take I've had for quite some time. I mean, Tim, I've been aggressively against Boeing ever since that first plane went down.
Mhm.
And I've said many, many times that the lack of transparency was very, very concerning. And, you know, my first thought was, even today, they don't accept responsibility, even today, because when they halted the 737 for the first time in a couple decades, again, the number one most popular plane in the skies is the 737. They blamed the FAA.
Mm-hmm.
They did not take responsibility. They did not say, our bad. Not even that. Not even that. It was like a one-handed, yeah, we could have done things better. But but the FAA, Boeing, just accept the fact that you did something tremendously wrong, and you need to fire and get rid of the people, anybody that knew anything concerning the problems with the MCAS system. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And until that happens, I'm going to be anti-Boeing. It's just going to happen.
Yeah, it's a stay away from me as well. And obviously, I mean, you read the headline. It's amazing how investors work, Matt. Maybe the reason why Boeing is rallying intraday is the $1 billion a month they're losing is less than the $2 billion they were losing while they kept this thing in production. So they might just be looking at the raw fundamentals of it and saying, hey, it's a lower loss than what they were having before.
I don't care about that. Like in any capacity, I don't care about that. I don't care about the numbers. I don't care about their loss. I care about this. If I were to go out in my car and have a road rage accident where I run my car into somebody and injure somebody, I can't say, well, me and my wife got in a fight and it's her fault.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say that.
You have to take
Nobody
accountability.
buys that.
Yeah.
Take accountability here. Be transparent, accept responsibility, stop the nonsense of blaming other people, and get back on track of building a wonderful company.
Well, and I think another part of the announcement here is obvious that the FAA has probably told Boeing, we're not passing that or getting you back in production at any time soon.
The FAA doesn't want that on their heads.
No, they do not. And I think it could be a long time.
I would tell Boeing the exact same thing if I was the FAA.
Yeah.
Okay. You had 2 planes go down. You had close to 400 people die, and you knew there was a problem. You knew there was a problem. Yeah, we're not going to just accept your word that everything's fixed.
No, we're not.
FAA might be punishing Boeing, by the way.
And probably rightfully so. They probably need a big fine. They need accountability. We've been talking about it for a while. A positive story out of Netflix, by the way, bring this one up. I've been kind of interested in this. We had a conversation about this a few times over the last few weeks. Yeah. Is Netflix ready to pop? Is Netflix kind of that underperformer, almost like the Amazon, Matt, same kind of conversation, where it was down for most of the year. Now we're starting to see some positivity come back. I got to give you the headline news and actually the numbers here on Netflix, Matt. In Europe, the Middle East, and Africa, they more than doubled their subscribers since 2017. They're up 153% in the Asia Pacific markets. Basically, Netflix's numbers globally are great. Right. And so is this company? I mean, obviously the company is really responding today. We're approaching a breakout, Matt. Pretty good sign for Netflix.
I think one of the things that perhaps all of us have made a mistake on, and I mean, me, you, Tackle, Wall Street, everybody, we've been so fixated on the increasing competition within the US, right? From a streaming service provider. It's all over the news for the last 2 years that perhaps maybe we have been missing out on what Netflix has been doing in trying to increase their reach around the globe. When I saw that headline and read that article today, I was floored by the numbers. Like I was floored by it. Up 153% in Europe. I mean, in the Asian zone, up 158% in Europe. Those are very impressive numbers out of Netflix. Extremely impressive numbers. I believe it's like 158.3 million global subscribers right now.
It's huge.
Are actually paying subscribers. I mean, that's massive. And we've seen them just recently. We've seen, our concern over the original content kind of get blown out of the water when, at what was it, the Golden Globes, where they had just dominated the nomination process. So original content is starting to get extremely popular. Internationally, the numbers are growing impressively at Netflix. Completely understand the price appreciation here, up close to 4% on the day, really approaching a potential breakout here, Tim, that absolutely 100% can be tradable. You have increasing momentum through your candles, small, big. You have starting to see increasing volume, especially on the news today. Look at that volume start to pick up over the last 3 days. So you have increasing volume with a big momentum candle coming into a breakout channel. Looking at this on a 1-hour chart, you'll kind of see that breakout right there at 316. Look what's happening on the price appreciation. You're starting to see the consolidation on the intraday here. This is the cash open. That's the overnight. This is the consolidation as you're coming into that breakout channel. Probably wouldn't chase the dragon on this one, Tim, after a 4% update. Give me a doji, give me some consolidation, but that is absolutely tradable. What do you guys think? And honestly, I don't really see anything to the left of the chart that's that concerning until you start getting into that 335, gap range. You certainly have enough return to justify the trade.
Listen, I think it's tradable. I have no idea what that analyst was doing last week who downgraded the stock on Monday. What a bad rating. By the way, you downgrade it, then it rallies $30 or $25 right off your downgrade price on Monday morning. Breakout at 320, Matt, I think it's buyable. There's no question in my mind. You got a momentum trade there. Yeah, and the other thing on the volume.
Publicly thank that idiot for blowing up a wonderful technical setup.
It was so beautiful.
It's just a wonderful technical setup. But we are now approaching the breakout, and that could be tradable as well.
Well, and the other thing on the volume, Matt, it's really interesting. Here we are. It's 11 o'clock Mountain, 1 o'clock on the East Coast. You got 3 more hours. By the end of the day, that volume bar will even be bigger, So it is an increasing volume day on an increasing momentum day. I would buy above the breakout here, Noah. What about you? Is it an aggressive entry? What's your read?
No, I like the momentum. I like the momentum a lot. It's got decent volume behind it. You can trade this candle by candle, trail your stops. I think it's a great setup.
Yeah. Some interesting stuff. Get Netflix on a watch list at a minimum.
Too.
Yep. Another one of our favorite companies, Matt, Eli Lilly, LLY. Actually, they raised their full year for 2020, their guidance. They came out and the CEO basically was saying next year is going to be our year, guys. We have growth in front of us. We're positioned well. We like what we're doing. The market is responding very, very bullish, Matt. These kind of companies, medical device companies, healthcare companies in general, they've been hot. We've been targeting Lilly at different points over the last 5 years. What's your read on this news and that company in general?
Obviously positive news out of Lilly here. It's a fairly decent fundamental company. It's something that we've analyzed for the Tackle 25 a few different times. In fact, I can't remember if we had it. I believe we had it on the list one year. I don't know if it's
15, I think it was a couple years ago, I think.
Yeah, it was a couple years ago, but it is a fundamentally pretty strong company here. Really good news on the full guidance upgrade. You can't, if there's one thing that will drive a stock, it's guidance.
Yeah.
If there's one thing you track, EPS numbers second, but if there's one thing you track, it's guidance, and increasing guidance is always a positive result. A little bit of a chase the dragon scenario here. I mean, the RSI is pinging at 91. Let it consolidate, but if this is a stock you follow, wait for the consolidation, wait for the pullback, but it's obviously positive news.
I think price action like this just reiterates that I'm going to keep it on a bull watch list and look for new entries. I would not chase this one either. That's my read. Very different than Netflix, by the way. See, Lilly is rallying after a huge rally. Netflix is rallying into the pivot point. So yeah, they both have big green candles on news today, but very, very different technical setups as a reaction to that news. Johnson & Johnson and Micron were upgraded, Matt. Both of those, just give me a quick peek. J&J.
Johnson just pinging right there into the resistance channel. Nothing to see here until we see a breakout retrace. Micron also got upgraded, and why not? Every semiconductor is getting upgraded right now.
Yeah, heading into earnings here, obviously.
Gives me a little caution with the semis kind of overextended.
Yeah.
It kind of feels like the Netflix downgrade, and then all of a sudden you see $30 back up.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
I mean, upgrades after extended price movements, I don't love.
I think the price action has kind of moved a little bit too quick, too swift, and too far. And guys, really, that's all I had in the corporate news. We want to do rapid fire here today for about 5 minutes, do a quick fun segment where we go through some of our students' picks out there. By the way, guys, if you are here to our show for the first time, welcome out. It's always great to have you. We do a daily show here. Every day the stock market is live, 12:30 p.m. Eastern, 10:30 Mountain Time. If you're watching our show right now as well, give me a quick thumbs up. Make sure we get the word out there. And Matt, before the end of the show, we're going to talk a little bit about that webinar tomorrow night that Noah's going to be hosting. Just make sure our audience knows about it. But guys, it's time for rapid fire. We're going to do a 5-minute rapid fire. I'm going to put a clock up and we're going to see how many we can get through, guys. If you want us to look at a company, start right now by putting it in the chat. Noah, I'm going to start with you. PM from Kirk LeBlanc.
PM, let's see there. Oh, I like the little cup and handle action on that. You got that overhead resistance at 90, but I like the setup. You know, this is a dividend payer, a $1.17 dividend on an $85 stock. That's not bad. It's got great options. It's a fun one.
They did come out today and talk about raising the national age of buying cigarettes to 21. So there's some risk in the tobacco sector, obviously.
The one thing I'll say to that, though, obviously we're concerned about juul regulations, but there's a lot of municipalities around the U.S. right now that have already done that.
Yeah, it's true. All right, BHC, Matt, you'll take this one. This is from Majid.
BHC here, looking at strong bullish momentum in the trend, looking at a snapback retracement coming down into the 90 EMA. You got a rising 20 in the 9. $30 to me is an important, significant whole number. The bull area between the rising 9 and rising 20 is a pretty decent buy zone. You got increasing momentum to the downside on the candle today. Good trend. Wait for it to slow down. This reminds me of Marty the Elephant, Tim. Marty the Elephant has hit the tramp. Let's see if the tramp holds, right? But the tramp's we got to see it slow down. That's what the tramp does. Marty comes down, hits the tramp slows it down. Right now, Marty's still coming down. Wait for it to hit support, slow down. But you got to like the increasing bullish momentum in the trend.
I was in such a good mood. Why do you got to bring up Marty the Elephant? You know, me and him, we don't get along. So
yeah, you just don't like it that he's my best friend.
He doesn't like me is what it is. All right.
You don't understand, Marty. You treat him with disrespect.
We do. We just don't communicate, Matt. WW, Weight Watchers here. What a couple wild years on WW. Obviously, it's in a new developing uptrend. This is one of those moving average congestions, though, that makes it really tricky on triggers. And I don't like that red candle. Now, you've got some good stuff here. Old resistance, new support, a rising 50-period moving average, but you got a big red candle. You've got some momentum pivot relationships in there. I would need clear confirmation on volume and price action to do anything here. Matt, anything to add to that one?
It feels like a failed retracement.
It does feel like that.
It feels that way. And the one thing that kind of leads me to that is, you know, you are coming down into your pretty significant support level right there about 37.75, right where the 50-day moving average is, as well as the old resistance over here. This little failed flag pattern, though, gives me concern.
Yep.
Right.
Yep, that little hesitation in there. That's exactly right.
Take the Netflix aside, most deep retracements in a hot market haven't worked out so far.
Mm-hmm. Yep. DocuSign. I really am interested in this company lately, and I've been interested in for a bit now. Noah, give me a read on this one real quick.
I think this one is in that melting up kind of pattern. It looks like it's, you got clean cycles, but it's a little noisy. It's kind of chopping a little bit as it climbs. So this would be the type of thing I think you have to use slightly looser trail stops on, but I think it's going to slowly grind up.
Pretty good earnings report here a couple weeks ago as well. Yeah, definitely need to have some clear confirmation to the upside, but I do like that the overall trend. Taiwan Semiconductor, Matt, this has been leading that 5G conversation for a long time. You talked about melting up in the semiconductor space. Give me a read on this one.
Yeah, Taiwan Semiconductor has been a leader in this space for quite some time. I mean, most of this space has been fairly aggressively bullish, over the course of the year, but especially over the course of the last couple of weeks. Overextend to the top side, wait for some consolidation, wait for a retracement, but Taiwan Semi should absolutely be on the watch list.
NVIDIA, NVDA. Yeah, look at that. Broke out recently, hesitating, just a very, very strong move. If you're already in, you're executing a trading plan. If you're not, you probably missed the short term. I guess there could be a bar by bar argument, but I probably would not chase momentum there.
You are setting up on the intraday for a potential breakout, though.
Yeah, interesting.
It's consolidated last 3 days, trying to form a high base. Focus on that intraday trigger above 229.
Strong performer though for quite some time. Home Depot here. I actually saw this one leading some of the price volume action, but went to the chart and it was ugly here. Noah, that's just a bear retracement, even though there's a little momentum hesitation in there. Give me a read on Home Depot.
You got to back it to a weekly for me because that's where this action setup is. It's got the slowing momentum. It's got an engulfing range, and it's in a big fat support and resistance zone. The fact that it's been down in an up market's probably my only concern. But as far as, a reversal pattern at a big support zone goes, I like what I see.
Yeah.
And I don't have it on the chart, but I do believe that little retracement kissed off the 200-day moving average as well.
Yep. It's right on the 200. Yeah, exactly.
USO, Matt, we kind of looked at crude oil earlier, but just a quick peek at the oil. Same analysis on the ETF, kind of running here. Nice ETF to trade oil as well. CGC though, Matt, Canopy Growth, the medical marijuana space had a bad year, starting to show some reversals here. We talked about that little inverted head and shoulders. Little breakout there would be tradable, don't you think?
I do. It is a head and shoulders pattern. You got left shoulder, head, right shoulder. You have a nice little resistance area right. Excuse me. You have a nice little resistance area right there, and I'll get you the number about 2150. If you're looking to bottom feed here in a marijuana company, and you're looking at Canopy Growth, or you're looking at Tilray here, or you're looking at Kronos here. I mean, they're all kind of fading neutral right now. In terms of showing slowing momentum towards the bottom, but the one that's technically sound from a reversal is Canopy Growth.
The only thing that has me hesitating on CGC is those other charts you just brought up. When you look at Tilray and Kronos and the other ones, they just haven't shown that reversal characteristic yet. I was looking at the MJ ETF, Matt. I still would trade CGC to the upside on a breakout, but this whole area hasn't really shown any of that reversal characteristic yet. Do you think next year they can make a comeback?
I do.
Yeah,
I do. Now, I'm sure we'll have some predictions coming out in next week in our or 2 weeks from now in our prediction podcast. But I think we'll have some predictions on marijuana. It's been beat up. I mean, obviously in 2017 you had the Bitcoin rise. When they started losing money, they tried to go put it all in marijuana stocks in 18, and when they're losing money, once they get out of it, Wall Street's coming back in.
Yeah.
Once all the consumers lose their money because they think it's that easy, that all you have to do is go pick a marijuana company, Wall Street comes in. We've seen it time and again. When the consumers lose their money, Wall Street comes in and picks them up at the bottom. So can there be some bottom feeding action in MJ, Kronos, Tilray, Canopy Growth? Absolutely. Now, is it going to be backed on fundamentals? No, it would be backed on just simple growth and technicals. And that's why you have to focus on the technical analysis here.
Yep. Noah, I'm going to give you 3 in a row. We're going to put our foot on the gas here.
All right.
Come to the finish line. Duke Energy, DUK. Utilities were really bullish today.
Watch out for that falling moving average and that long shadow.
Target, TGT. It is the time for Christmas shopping. Target's looking good.
Hey, this is on the options report. It's pretty good looking.
Roku, they had, I think it was a CFO or a CPO, something. One of their C-suite executives did resign from the company here today. Price action, not much there. No, anything to add to that?
Don't like it below the moving averages.
Uber, Matt, I'm going to give you 3 in a row now. We've been talking about these ride-hailing companies for a bit. Uber, real quick.
Uber trying to break out of that $30 level. Uber, I mean, it's definitely put it on a watch list. You're above the rising moving averages right now, down 1% on the day, 30 cents. I think that $30 is going to play a role. Let's see how it performs above 30, but I got to see it close above 30 and run.
We are dropping the hammer here in rapid fire. UNH, Lyft looking pretty good. United Health, Matt, up there at the high. We have this.
This would be a situation on United Health where you miss the trigger. You got to wait for a next trigger.
Yep.
Right. And it happens every single meeting in the scouting report. Somebody will pull up a stock that's, showing some momentum, and it's like, yeah, it's showing momentum, but the only thing you can do is play it bar by bar because you missed the trigger. The trigger was, 2 days ago. Wouldn't chase it at the top. I'd wait for consolidation or a retracement. Yeah. TSN, Tyson Foods. Tyson Foods just in a short-term consolidation pattern. Trigger would be above, the base of the base we're seeing right here at about 91.50. Wouldn't necessarily concern myself with the ticket 94, although you probably put an alert there. We're past the 5 minutes, but I can't call. We only got like 6 more. Tesla, give me the next 3. I'm going to take them.
Tesla has been strong. Got to get it on a bull watch list. I don't think I would chase it up here. Starbucks, Matt, we've been talking about this stock for a bit. Tackle 25 stock showing me a nice reversal pattern, getting back above those moving averages, kind of pulling back into that rising 9 EMA. Keep an eye on Starbucks as well. Microsoft, option report candidate this week, Matt, very, very strong, broke out again, high base kind of wedge pattern up there, and it did run on that. I think still very, very bullish. Going to go back to you, Matt, for the last three here. VIPs. I know you've been talking about the VIPs recently, and
well, yeah, I put it on the dirty sexy money list for 2020. Now we haven't finalized that. We're still in the process of finalizing it, but quietly I always call it the VIPs. I've been doing that for years now, just calling it the VIPs. The VIPs has quietly shown a tremendous amount of strength over the course of the last year. Your hesitation at the top end of the channel with a little bit of a high base that is currently being broke out of that. I mean, I get it. Chinese tech, we haven't really kind of been focusing on this year, but the VIPs breaking out of that $14 mark, stop loss under 14, play bar by bar. This is a pretty good technical setup right now.
It's looking great right now. UNH, where I looked at PLCE, the Children's Place.
Children's Place showing real weakness here. Negative earnings report from last week, obviously gap down, and we're seeing if the gap's going to fill. Wait for it to come into those decreasing moving averages. This looks like a potential short in a week or so.
And then last but not least, Noah, I'm going to give you Comcast, CMCSA. Do you have your internet with Comcast, Noah?
I did, and it went out yesterday. Short it.
We should short Comcast because Noah's been losing his internet quite a bit the last couple of days.
To the point where we don't believe him anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's got a nice little pattern for that, so not too bad.
It does. But nice little bearish retracement coming into the decreasing moving averages.
Yeah. By the way, the thing with the Children's Place, it's a reiteration of the storyline we've seen all year long, guys. Big box retail with online presence, it's been great. Target, Walmart, those types. Specialty retail that has to get people in the stores has not. And that's really been a storyline playing itself out now, Matt, for a year, almost 2 years probably.
Let's try 20.
Yeah. 20 years. Yeah, I like that. Now, guys, that's our show. The only thing really to talk about down at the end of the show, number one, we got our coaches show tonight. Number two, if you're watching our show and you have not done it yet, give me a thumbs up. We had a lot of fun here today, and I love doing this halftime report. We appreciate those thumbs up. It really does help get our SEO out there, get more eyes on tackle trading. Number three, if you're looking for a pro trial at tackle trading, we always give a 15-day trial in the comments and the links below. I'll make sure you guys have access to that. And then lastly, Noah, you're doing a webinar tomorrow night.
Yeah, you bet. In fact, I just threw the the link there in the chat. I threw it in Slack for you too, and I think I'll throw it in there if you want to get the official hyperlink in there. Yeah, we're doing a little tackle trading Christmas bundle webinar. And everything's on sale. Everything's on sale is basically what we're doing. We're going to be talking about the bear market survival guide. We're going to be talking about the iron condors, cash flow condors, tackle 25. And we are extending the annual subscription out till the end of the year because we had such a phenomenal response. Yeah. So link to sign up for the webinar is going to be a lot of fun. Going to be high energy, a lot of fun.
Where's the link for the sign up to the webinar?
I got one in Slack. Let me throw in here in the chat for you here.
And Matt, while we get that link up, I just want to make a couple of comments on the holiday pricing. We're making a lot of changes and we're doing a lot of amazing things over at Tackle Trading. We don't put these systems on that kind of discount very often, so this is a Christmas kind of special, something that you approved and said, hey, listen, our students, our members, our community, if they want to buy one of these systems over the holiday and get ready for 2020, it's a great time to do it. And we've been very, very, clear in our communication with our audience and with our community out there on when we're going to put things on sale. So this is a pretty good sale for those systems, don't you think?
Well, it's we have multiple systems: the Tackle 25 system, bear market survival guide, cash flow condors, the step system, the 7-step guide to trading, which is a free product, and our pro level subscription, is our scatter reports, all of our webinars, and everything else we do for our pro members. But if you wanted to start learning how to trade in a bearish condition, because there's always bearish conditions, not just market crashes, guys, get into the bear market survival guide. If you want to learn how to cash flow and start compounding cash flow gains in the Russell 2000, which has been system that's been cash flowing every month for the last 10 consecutive months, right?
Yeah.
Then get into cash flow condors. And if you're new to tackle trading, you can bundle everything together and get a very substantial discounted price.
You know, I had a student ask me recently, Matt.
Very quickly, Tim. And if you're already an annual member of Tackle Pro subscriber, but you don't have, bear market survival guide or cash flow condors or something like that, we've discounted the individual systems as well.
Yeah, definitely. And come and have some fun with us tomorrow night. You guys who know our webinars, we just have a lot of fun. We provide value. We try to create a lot of energy. It's always great to get Team Tackle members out there. No, I know you've got something kind of fun planned for tomorrow night, and it's going to be a high energy thing. It's tomorrow at 8:30 Eastern. The webinar registration link is right in the chat on YouTube, by the way, and just pop your email in there. It will reserve your spot. We'll make sure we send you the webinar link to come and join us on Wednesday evening. Yeah, that's it, guys. I'm excited.
Oh, absolutely.
All the cool kids are going to be there for sure.
All the cool kids, except me.
All the cool kids. Well, they got to let me talk, Matt.
That is true.
Matt's going to be down in Texas with those snowflakes.
There are sometimes they tell me to leave the ballroom so that somebody else can talk. Yeah. It does happen.
I had a lot of fun here today, guys. There's a lot of corporate news. Many of those stocks that we talked about, get them on a watch list, get ready, come back and join us tomorrow. If you're already a pro member, Coach's Show tonight, as always. And if you ever have any questions, requests, or you want to just talk to us, team@tackletrading.com is a great email to buzz us a quick message on. Guys, we're out. We'll see you tomorrow.
I don't know if I know how to send us out.